Welcome to 2022. Hopefully another year that us humans don't mess up as we did mess up 2020 and 2021. Anyway, that's another story. Today, back to plasma research. So welcome back. You're one of the two people who watched my film on advanced plasma technology, where I was actually fishing for more information. Nice to see you back here. And thank you for sharing very interesting information with me, which moves the story onwards, which I can share with you now. So in my last film, I left a series of what I called keywords. The keywords were Bentwaters, Woodbridge, Bawdsey, say it properly, Manor, which is the UK's radar establishment in Suffolk, Orford, Ness, and something called the Black Beacon. Also, I included a reference to British Telecom and Martlesham Heath. I'm saying it very clearly because some people didn't really understand me last time. Martlesham Heath, it's a British Telecom research centre in Suffolk. And of course, Rendlesham Forest, but we'll get on to that. So my inbox went pling 3 times from people who had very interesting things to share. All of them will remain nameless, but they obviously know their stuff. Number 1, a British telecom person who worked at Martlesham Heath confirmed that, first of all, he told me I got something wrong. It's not Ad Astra House, it's Ad Astral House, this amazing research centre. 2 things about it. First of all, yes, some of the laboratories in this research park were not run by British Telecom. He didn't know who they were, but he surmised that they were defence contractors using the same facility. So that's brilliant news. And second of all, a general point about British Telecom. At the time, they were government owned. Obviously, they're privatised now, but British Telecom, or as it used to be called, the Post Office or the telephone company, has been at the forefront of technological research for years. And the brilliant story is this. If you today do a Wikipedia search on the first digital computer, it comes up with ENIAC, which is an American computer built in the late 40s and early 50s. No, the first digital mainframe computer was designed by Flowers working for British Telecom, or at the time, the Post Office in Dollis Hill, and he built this Colossus to break German codes. It was so secret and ahead of its time, like way ahead of its time, that Winston Churchill demanded that they all be destroyed. So at the end of World War II, they were smashed to bits. Luckily, odd bits were kept by people who had built them. And today, if you go to Bletchley Park, you can see a reconstruction using some of the original parts of the world's first digital computer, Colossus, a British Telecom Post Office development. Where am I going with this? What I'm saying is that British Telecom, the Post Office research, was ahead of its time, and they are a science research centre involved in top-end and classified dark secret work for the government. Email pling number 2. This one's brilliant. This is from somebody who knows a lot about Orford Ness, knows a lot of things about Orford Ness, AWRE, Atomic Weapons Research, and what happened at Orford Ness. And again, he wanted to steer me and you, the viewers, away from what we think and down a rabbit hole. So he told me that this black beacon is actually very interesting, but probably wasn't involved in the Rendlesham incident because by then it wasn't being used. But two bits of new information which make what it did and where it is even more fascinating, and something I didn't know really. First of all, and I've said this before, we have this impression from World War II films that brave chaps in bombers flew all the way from East Anglia to Berlin and found their factory and dropped their bombs and came back using cunning and dead reckoning and a good chart. No, they didn't. Well, they had that as backup, but what they really had was a whole host of secret, early electronic devices to tell them where they are, to tell them about German fighters coming towards them, radar, and to get them home safely. And this place, the Black Beacon, was the center of that research. It housed the World War II ADF, automatic direction finding equipment. You wanted to know when waves of your bombers or Allied bombers were coming back to East Anglia that they weren't German bombers gonna bomb Norwich or London. So they all had these things, electronic countermeasures that would give out codes to our chain home radar to say that they were one of us. And that's one of the things that Orford Ness and this building, the Black Beacon, was involved in. By the late 70s, early 80s, it probably was decommissioned, but not entirely. He, remain nameless, can't tell me about the project. But what he did was point me in this incredibly smart direction. He said, Simon, go and dig up CEGB power line maps. For people who are a bit younger or from a different country, CEGB is the Central Electricity Generating Board. And they publish unclassified maps of where they put cables. And there's a cable from about 4 miles north of Orford Ness. Orford Ness is a spit of uninhabited shingle on the east coast of Suffolk, England. And there's a cable with megawatts of electricity that goes from someplace just north of Orford Ness and ends at the Black Beacon. No points for guessing where it originates. Sizewell A nuclear power station. That is the power source for advanced research down this CEGB cable to a shingle bank on the North Sea coast. Oh yeah? Sure. They needed the power for projects which we are going to talk about. And secondly, totally declassified in the open. In fact, he actually just pointed me towards a obscure Wikipedia entry which has enough clues in it to make me put 2 and 2 together and make 6, as I often do, to what was actually going on at Orford Ness in the post-early atomic weapons research. At the end of when they tested Blue Streak with their centrifuges and done their explosions and their precursor focused charge experiments that we see taking place in these pagoda type buildings, what did it go on to do? Well, the facility went on to do this, and it's going to be a whole film. So today I'm just going to show you some pictures and tell you an overview of what the program was all about. You, like me, who's interested in early atomic weapon explosions, why not? Probably have seen these pictures. They're classic, very high-speed photography taken milliseconds after the Trinity test and other early atomic bomb, above-ground atomic bomb explosions in the United States and in New Mexico. And we've all noticed these spikes that come down, that seem to hang down from the fireball. And I always understood it was the guy wires vaporizing from the tower that the atomic weapon was based on. End of story. Oh no. One of the leading scientists at Los Alamos who had built the bomb and was working on his own super weapon, which you know about, Edward Teller and the hydrogen bomb, recognized that these ropes that he called the Indian rope trick, these spikes, were caused by an effect, an obscure effect of the bomb explosion itself. What vaporized, and it is the guy wires, is extremely high power focused X-rays which emit from an explosion, like incredible. And they go about 15 meters and the power level is literally universe forming. There are fundamental physics involved in the amount of energy that causes these spikes. And Edward Teller proposed that people working in atomic weapons research should look at a military potential for a focused X-ray beam weapon triggered by an atomic explosion that would have these filaments of X-ray superpowers coming out of it in space. And this was developed, and I'm going to go into it in great depth because the project is fascinating. And the last thing that this email said, and for me ties everything together, he said just basically look at SDI, or as we call Star Wars technology, the Reagan initiative for a global nuclear shield, and look at the funding, look at the projects that were involved, look at how Bentwaters, Orford ness, Bawdsey, Martlesham Heath, and sadly the Rendlesham forest incident is all connected. The truth is out.
Tell us the truth.